Hello there, this is Nopename. Only a few days ago I found out about a mechanic that allows you to measure the time passing in Minecraft very accurately. And actually that mechanic exists since I think Minecraft 1.9 or it exists since world borders were added. Maybe you already know how it works, but I didn't know, and I think there are still people that don't know, and maybe they don't know what to use it for. So yeah, I need that mechanic for quite a lot of stuff because yeah, sometimes it's important to have an accurate timer. So yeah, as I said, it uses world border, and these are the main commands. So basically I'm setting the size of the world border, then I'm changing it with a certain time. So this is the time it takes Minecraft to change the size. And then I get the size of the world border, and this execute command stores the size of the world border in the scoreboard objective. And using modular I'm just removing this, 5 million I think it is. And yeah, this results in that scoreboard showing the milliseconds Minecraft needs to process one tick. And you can also use that to make an exact timer, because that's just this command. Every entity that has a score time of at least 1, and these are fake players except for me, so they aren't affected by this. So all entities that have a time score of at least 1 will add this score that shows the milliseconds of the last tick. I will add that score to their own, and therefore you have an exact timer. And so yeah, let me show you. Scoreboard players set as time 1, and so yeah, these are the seconds. This is a tenth of a second. This is a hundredth of a second. I don't know how to pronounce, but yeah, I think you can see, and it counts up. Now I want to show you yeah, what the advantage of it is. So let's add this thing, and here's a fake player, so it isn't affected by the timer. And I'm going to add 50 to that score every tick, because by default a tick takes 50 milliseconds to process. So in theory my score and the score of that fake player should increase yeah, with the same rate. Now I'm going to reset this, and this looks really similar to each other. You can also see that the scoreboard switches around because the scores are very similar to each other. Sometimes my score's bigger, sometimes the score of a fake player is bigger. But now I'm going to summon a zombie and another zombie and some more zombies, and this will make the game lag quite a bit. So let's see, let's add some more zombies. The frame rate drops, but also the internal server needs more time to process one tick, and you can see that the score increases with a lower frequency, and my score also updates with a lower frequency, but it increases with the same frequency. Only the update of the display is delayed. And that's the important thing. As you can see, there's quite a big difference here between these two scores now. And so I think that's really important. For example, if you have a sound system like I have in Project Zelda, I'm playing with a play sound command, I'm activating the music, and the file is let's say 1 minute and 15 seconds, and once the music is over I want to start it again, and I'm using a scoreboard objective, to count the time, and once the time is over of the song, I'm playing it again, so I have a constant loop. But if Minecraft is laggy for whatever reason, then a normal scoreboard objective will show the wrong value, and then it might happen that there's a break between the loops, or that it starts the second loop too early and something like that, and I don't want that. Also, Brian, aka Logan111, or however you want to call him, he showed something really cool you can do with this. You can, you know, if you have some calculation stuff with your scoreboard, with your commands that are very resource intensive, like my circle generator, and what he does, he gets the score that shows the milliseconds Minecraft takes to process a tick, and depending on how big that score is, the commands decide to run another loop or to pause the system and let Minecraft process the rest of the tick, and then the system will continue in the next tick. And that way you can do big calculations, like running my circle generator with a radius of 1 million blocks, and it won't lag out the game like you could see in my video back then. If I would have already known about this mechanic, I would have added that to the function, and then there would be no lag. It would just take a few more seconds to process. But yeah, you can also do something else in the meantime, and that's really cool. So yeah, that's two big advantages. For example, you can, you know, prevent your command stuff from lagging out the game, and you have an exact timer, for example, for music loops and some other stuff. Maybe you want a really accurate clock for multiplayer games. I think Accidental Games used that in one of their maps, or I'm actually not that sure what they are doing exactly, but they told me that they are using the system. And so yeah, if you don't know how to use this already, I'm going to give you a download of the function. Check out the link in the description, and then you will have this function, and yeah, then you have an exact timer, and here, for example, you can add commands. So let's say this function will run every tick by Minecraft because of the function tag. Therefore you aren't allowed to change the name of the function. And now we can do something like execute if score system time matches. So if the last tick took less than 100 milliseconds to process, then run another function, and so on. But after that you have to, before that you have to get the value again, and then you can repeat that, for example, or you can also do that using recursion. So the function calls itself again and again, not this tick function, the function you're calling here, where you have to do it. And then, for example, it will call this function, and then it will look at the time Minecraft needed to process that tick, and if there's still some time left, it's going to run this function, and if it's still time left, it's going to run this function. But if something else happens, like clone commands are quite broken in the last snapshots. I wrote a bug report, so yeah, you can also click on the link in the description there. If you run two clone commands close to each other, so like in less than 1 second, two big clone commands, then Minecraft is going to lag a lot. Like one tick takes more than 1 second to process instead of 50 milliseconds. And that's a big problem. So if you run two big clone commands in this function, Minecraft is going to lag a lot, so it can detect, oh yeah, the last tick took too much time to process, so I'm not going to run this function, because, you know, then the lag would be even bigger, and we don't want that. So yeah, I hope this is useful for you, and you can use it for your own stuff, of course. You don't have to ask. It would just be nice if you give credits, but you don't have to actually, because, you know, this is just some background system stuff. And yeah, I think this is quite basic knowledge, not even though not everyone knows about it, and it's a bit complicated, but yeah. That's it for this video. See you next time. Bye.